My name's Terry Adamson. I'm the Technical Director with Fenestration Canada. Welcome to our first session of the day. But first off, I want to thank our sponsors. Many sponsors. They're not on the screen, but we know who they are. Thanks to them, Quanex, our presenting sponsor, Leighton Consulting sponsors our Learning Lounge. Thanks to Comerling for sponsoring our coffee station, which was really helpful this morning. And Elton is our cafe sponsor. So please note our sponsors. We couldn't be here without them. We really appreciate their support. All of our presentations that we do can be available in French as well. Just let Lee know. Lee at fenestrationcanada.ca if you want a French version, and we will get that to you. Also, all of our sessions are recorded and available on our website in about a week, as well as the Fenestration Canada YouTube channel. So if you want to review something or take another look or share it, you can go there and find those in about a week's time. So to start with, I'd like to welcome Maria Jasminez from Sherwin to intro our first session.
Good morning, everyone. It is truly remarkable to dedicate 53 years to a single industry, a testament not only to the enduring commitment, but to the character and leadership of the individual. Even more extraordinary is the legacy of respect, trust, and genuine friendship that Skip MacLean has cultivated throughout his journey. As a proud recipient of the prestigious C.P. Lowen Award, Skip exemplifies the highest standards of excellence and integrity in our field. It is with deep admiration and heartfelt appreciation that we welcome former FenCan President and esteemed industry leader Skip MacLean to the Fireside Chat family.
Oh, well, Skipper. All right. A true legend in our industry. So this year in June, I celebrated my 40th anniversary in this. And I know I don't look that old, but celebrated my 40th anniversary in the industry. And, then I saw Skip's post a few weeks back celebrating 53 years in our industry as he's headed into retirement. So think about that for a second. If you've been in the industry for 40 years, like myself, or 10 or 15 or 20, think about 53 years in one industry. It's unheard of in today's environment. So often we hear about, people in industries moving around, jumping to different industries. That sort of staying power in one industry is really unheard of today. So I'm honored today to welcome Skip MacLean to the Fireside Chat family. Very, very happy to have you here.
Companies in the 70s, and I did everything from purchasing to product design, R&D, sales. It was great. It's a wonderful industry. It's very broad. I do find, we used to say that once you got into glass business, you're always in the glass business. But I think, the same is going to be said about windows and doors, now called fenestration. Back in those days, fenestration wasn't even a word, I think. I think maybe in French it's fenestre, but there was no fenestration for sure.
So any of us in the industry certainly are familiar with Skip and his activities. So we spend a lot of time with our colleagues in our industry, and oftentimes we don't know a whole lot about those colleagues outside of our industry. So I'd like you to tell us, who's Skip MacLean when he's not dealing with fenestration? What's your loves? What do you do?
Well, they've sort of changed over the years. Initially, I thought golf was for old folks. And then in my 40s, fell right into the love of golf. Don't play that much anymore. Sort of business got in the way with that. But I cycle a lot. I love to fish. I love to travel in Canada. I like to see as much as I can. My roots are from Cape Breton, and I love it. In the Eastern Atlantic Canada is just where I feel most at home. Had a 2-week trip this year down there, and it was just heaven on earth. Yeah, so, fish, hunt, family. I'm a father of 2, a daughter and a son, not in the business. So they didn't follow in my footsteps. I traveled a lot when I was younger, as most of us do. I met some great people on the way. So I just do cycling and do a little bit of renovations. I've had cottages during my time, and, life changes. You get a little older, get a little slower. So.
Yeah, I hear that. So 53 years in one industry is an extremely long time for anybody. And we've seen so many changes. I mean, you just take a look around the floor today, the products and the diversity of what fenestration even means to us. When you got into this business that long ago, what was it? I mean, was it a single door and a sliding window? Or when you got in, where did you get in, and what did that look like?
Well, Fasco was a sort of a multi-product company. We sold everything from jealousy windows, which are louvered windows, in case people don't know. But one of the big items that was still in play was the old Pearson sashless slider. You probably remember that one, Damasceno. And then the big advent, at the early advent, was one with Reg Pollard introduced the vinyl sliding storm window. We actually had them installed in my family home. My dad bought them as one of the first guys. That's all gone by the wayside. A company called Airlight came into play, and they started making, I think, one of the first people to make a sealed unit, certainly in Ontario. And that really sort of allowed the industry to sort of pivot a little bit to a different grade of windows. Energy savings and recording started to become a lot more of the industry. But initially, my job was to sell hardware for windows and doors. A lot to do with the storm door market, and then it morphed in more into the window side of the business. When the biggest change is when vinyl really came into play. Vic Dezen and Armando DeMarco from DM, which became Vinyl Built. They really pushed that whole vinyl window industry to what it is today, I guess. With Vic's efforts to basically turn a guy who used to make bread one day into a vinyl window manufacturer the next, was very successful. A lot of us are here today because of that kind of efforts.
Nice. So anybody that's been in this industry for any period of time, certainly myself included, has one person that they came across through their career that had a huge impact on who they are, what they did in the industry, why they stayed in the industry. For me, it was a shipping manager. I got into the business driving truck, and that person really guided me in where I headed. There's got to be somebody that maybe early in your career, maybe a little later, that was that one person that really sort of drove your passion.
Boy, that's really hard, because for 53 years, there's more than one. Yeah. I can name probably a half a dozen, but the very, very first person that had a real positive influence on my life was a older Italian gentleman by the name of Geraldo Amendola, who worked for Fasco Products. And after 9 months on the job there, they fired my boss. And I was, concerned that I was the next one to get out the door. And he just basically told me in his own way, you just shut up, listen to me, and we'll be okay. And he guided me through with my confidence. And I did the job to the point where, it was really wasn't exciting me after a few years, because it was just too easy. So they said, oh, well, let's throw this guy into sales. So once I got into sales, there was another gentleman by the name of Bob Dion, who was a consummate salesman. He really guided me through those years. And then later in life, folks like Lauren Gerard at North Star Windows and Doors, still a close contact of mine, just a consummate window and door professional. We have so many faces sitting in the crowd today. James Wilson and I worked together for a lot of years. He's much younger than me, but I learned a lot from him. So, it was great. He left me stranded for a little while, but came back, which was awesome. Damasceno Sousa, we've always been very close. I've always admired his approach to the business, and used his counsel, many, many times. It just goes on and on. Tony Ifko from SIL Plastics, a better gentleman I've never met in my entire life. Frank Bruno, him and I worked together for many, many years, and you see the result last night with Mike Bruno. There's so many people. Michael Andrade from Cornerstone, brilliant young man. It's Jesse Hawthorne, who no longer is with the business, but I learned so much from Jesse in his days with Geldwin and our interactions. So it could go on and on. So there's really not one person. Kevin Pelly, I'm going to forget dozens of people, but it's been a great 53 years.
Apologies to the ones that we forgot, but you're right.
Absolutely, yeah.
A lot of really great people in this industry that over 53 years, so many that have touched your career and you've touched theirs. So I'm obviously a big supporter of the association world. I was a major contributor to Fenestration BC back in 2000 to 2014. So you've played a huge part in the association and your leadership of the association. So I'd like you to share with us, your association activities, your involvement with Fenestration Canada, and what participating in a trade association means to you.
Well, my first taste of the association was not actually what is now Fenestration Canada, but was an organization called the Canadian Retail Hardware Association. And that really told me or showed me the power of unity, because there was a lot of activity at that point. We were able to band together and sort of stop a lot of adverse things that would have affected our industry. So when I was able to get involved with CWDMA at the time, it was mainly a push from Eva Ryder-Band, who owned Screenco, said, "I've nominated you for a board seat and you're going to take it." So, that was it. You didn't say no to Eva lightly. But I got involved with the board there and was so lucky to have around me such great leaders with such passion, like Kevin Pelly, Yvonne Ohl. They really drove change to this industry. When I was initially involved, everything you always heard was it was an old boys club and very sort of cliquish. And we knew we had to break that. We had to break a lot of and create a lot of change. So, I was involved when the association sort of pivoted. I get a lot of credit maybe that I don't deserve, because really the vision was with Kevin, Yvonne, myself, Al Duick. We sort of knew what had to happen. I just happened to be the change agent, I guess, so I was the guy that had to be, sort of make sure all these changes happen, but it wasn't entirely my vision for sure. But I'm not sure if everyone knows, but it was in Niagara-on-the-Lake that the association changed its name from Canadian Window and Door Manufacturers Association to Fenestration Canada, and that was a push by Kevin Pelly and his branding agent. So everyone was tired of saying that whole sentence before that, so we became FenCan. And one of the biggest achievements that we were trying to do was to get more younger folks into the association, into active involvement in the association. At that time, we had what we figured was a fair amount of members, never enough, but we didn't have as many active members as we do today. And that's a credit to current leadership. Stefan has done a fabulous job in sort of being the glue that holds all these sort of wild horses, or he's got the reins on them quite a bit, and he's done a great job with that for sure.
We want to get another mic on you. I guess your audio is not great, so. You just turning up? For Skip's next song, do we have any requests? How's that? Can you hear me now? Give us some volume. Give it a try.
Wait till he turns it on, I guess.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, we're live? Okay, good. There we go.
All right, great, excellent.
I can hear
So,
you.
so we'll start over again, Skips.
No.
So, I mean, I can't say enough to express my thanks for your involvement, and I want to share a little bit of a story. You know, I was involved with Fenestration BC back in 2010 to 2014 and around that time. And then I started to get involved with Fenestration Canada, and I certainly experienced some of those clicks coming from BC. It was a challenge for sure to get engaged. So there was the Vancouver Spring Conference AGM.
Right.
I think you were president, I think, at the time, right?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah, I think so. So we rode on a dinner cruise down Indian Arm in Vancouver, a beautiful Vancouver night. A few cocktails were flowing, and Skip and I and Greg Dickey got to chatting about Fenestration BC and you know what I was doing and my participation moving towards Fenestration Canada. And that conversation changed my career direction. Absolutely, no question about it. And I believe increased the drive towards a greater national representation for Fenestration Canada. Regional participation came out of that conversation, I think. I'd like you to share sort of your vision of that time and our conversation and kind of where we went from there.
Yeah, basically, you know, we were calling ourselves a national association, but we had really little presence in either Quebec. We had a lot of members, but we didn't have a lot of activity, and especially in Western Canada. And, you know, to not, you know, fill you full of hot air or anything, but we knew that you were the linchpin to get us some national exposure in Western Canada. And to bring that whole association together. So yeah, that was a great trip on the boat. A lot of it's a little foggy, but it was a good time, and I think mission accomplished. You know, you've become an integral part of the association and bring a viewpoint to the rest of the country that we were probably missing before. And, you know, membership is up in all areas of Canada now. So I think we can truly call ourselves a national organization. The chapters breakout was an extremely intelligent approach that I believe Stefan was, you know, vital in making it happen. And, you know, bringing you into the fold for the technical side of the association needs is wonderful. I know you're reachable. You know, this guy, if you want to know what's happening with windows and doors in a technical perspective, there's no better resource than Terry. So, like I say, mission accomplished.
So if you're on the outside looking in, as I was at the time, a good place to start is to get the president and get a few drinks into him, and then start talking about what you want to do. And he jumped right on. BC had 4 members at the time.
Right.
And I think you challenged me to 16 or something like that within a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And we exceeded that. It was great growth in the West. And I think today, BC holds something like 50 members or something like that. So it was a great move on your part. And I was certainly happy to play a role in that. And I think that we achieved that representation that a Canadian association truly needed to have. So appreciate that moment. And like I say, it changed my trajectory in my career. There's no question about it. And I'm really happy to be here. And I really, you know, respect and appreciate you for that change. Absolutely. So, so the last 5 years or so, we've seen a lot of different challenges. COVID, that was my presidency was during COVID. So that was a bit of a challenge that was a struggle for me. So take your crystal ball out and tell us what we're going to see, what we can expect to see for this industry as we move forward here? There's a lot of different challenges going on right now.
Yeah, with all challenges bring opportunity. Canada is the second largest country in the whole world, and we have a population of 50 million. We need housing real bad, which is great for everybody in this room because it's windows and doors in every house. You don't ever think you're going to see a house with any one of those without any one of those items. So I keep thinking to myself that all we really need to do is to get out of our own way and build together. There are certain things that recent, tariff problems that we've had have really brought to light in my mind the lack of any kind of actual glass production in Canada. To me, it's a shame. Sacrilegious. We should be doing all of that ourselves. We have the natural resources. We have the talent. What we need to do is we need to take a little bit more risk and build before it's required, because then when it is required, we'll be ready to service it. We can't wait until the need is too great, which I think has happened over the last couple of years, where our immigration far outstripped our ability to house everybody that was coming in the door. So now we're in a mess. Rent costs are through the roof, price of housing's through the roof. So we need to get a handle on how we're going to address housing. And one of the things that I think as an association we need to do, a couple of years ago, we did a survey on how many windows and doors are actually built in Canada. And we need to get full engagement of the industry to get this data up to place so that we can actually not only use that data ourselves, but use that data to influence governments and investors on, how to invest properly in this country, and more importantly in our industry, because windows and doors are vital to everything that we do. So I can't really say exactly what the actual challenges will be going forward, except the fact that, I think we need to develop a little bit more confidence, a little bit more, I'm going to call it Mike Brunoism, and just push forward. When we know we're right, let's not let anybody change our mind, and, let's get it done. Let's get stuff built here, for here, and for the rest of the world. We build some of the best window and door products made, I think, and we should be proud of that, and we should be promoting that. But, we just need to get out of our own way.
That's a great one. I'm going to use that quote. So obviously you've shared some of sort of the ups and downs of our association and the industry in your time. I'm curious, where do you think Fenestration Canada can improve? And what do you think that we're doing right that is showing us the success that we're seeing in our growth in that?
First, I sort of point to what we're doing right now. Is, last evening was I think a little bit of a turning event where we are starting to recognize people that are still active in our industry rather than waiting until they're gone out of the industry, or, God forbid, posthumously awarding some people. And I think if we can continue to do that, we will get greater engagement from the folks that actually have the ability to impact our industry positively. Give them an opportunity to understand that their voice is being heard, their voice is necessary, and will be taken seriously. And, I think that will generate a lot more engagement in our industry. We need to get more of our fabrication members specifically involved. Like, I believe, and I'm just a little bit of a shame, but I think Ontario has a wealth of window and door manufacturing, but we're not supporting the industry. We don't have their support. They're not engaging. And we need to find a way to do that. And it's always been a problem, and I don't have the answer to that for sure. What what are we possibly not doing? And I'm not sure. I'm not involved with the board at any level anymore. But the point I get back to is for us to use our strength a little bit more to our advantage. We are an important industry, an important segment of the Canadian economy, and I don't think anyone truly understands that it's not in our business. I think we'll all sit here and think, hey, our business is important. I employ 600 people, 200 people, 100 people, but at higher levels, I'm not sure if we are given that kind of respect. And it's not even respect. It's more of an understanding. We need to use our weight a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right. So if that means lobbying or whatever, I'm not sure. We discussed this earlier. Lobbying was brought up when I first came into the presidency of FenCan, but we did not have the resources. We didn't have the money. We didn't have the membership engagement. So it just wasn't a possibility. But maybe those times are changing a little bit. Maybe that's where the industry or the association has to pivot. But it has to be done not unanimously, but it has to be a direct result. We need to know the result we want to get out of something.
Yeah. We've definitely seen improvements in our outreach the last couple of years, the connections that we're making at those higher levels. So we're going to see some good stuff there. I was actually talking about this morning. I was having a conversation with somebody about our membership and the engagement, the level of engagement. Oftentimes we see many of the same faces at these events and activities that we do, and there's a lot of members that simply pay their dues, and you never see or hear from them. Which that's great. We love their dues for sure, but our goal is to engage and support and provide help for our industry, and that's a struggle, and we struggle with it all the time. So people that do come and participate, we certainly appreciate you, but tell your colleagues that you don't see here that they need to be coming and getting involved and helping us to shape the industry. So a lot of colleagues that you and I have had that have been in the industry for decades, but there's only a few of those people that get the recognition that they deserve, and there's lots of reasons for that, and there's only so much to go around, I guess, is maybe the way to put it. In 2019, you received the CP Lowen Award, which is obviously our most prestigious and recognized award for industry participants and supporters that go above and beyond. I'd like you to share your thoughts about your receiving the CP Lowen Award.
Boy, yeah, that was my biggest moment in my professional life for sure was receiving that award and being able to be recognized and also recognize a lot of the folks I mentioned earlier that helped me get to the point where I was today. I can't say enough about serendipity or whatever you want to call it, but I had just left Screenco in April of 2012 and joined TruTech about a month later. And one of the things when I was discussing being employed by TruTech was, hey guys, I'm about to be president of Fenestration Canada, which is going to mean some time. John Carreri, James Wilson gave me full support, said, listen, whatever you need to do, we're behind you. And, that helped a lot because those days there was a lot of sort of digging in and, we didn't have the outreach that we had today. We didn't have the board development that we had today to get things done. So that taught me a lot about the industry. It dragged me from coast to coast. We had a wonderful event in British Columbia where I spent hours getting folks out. And I think we had our largest draw in the country with the exception of, I think, one event in London, Ontario with NAFs. So that was great to get that kind of engagement. But, to be recognized along with the people that have gone, received that award before me, folks, again, like Kevin Pelly, Yvonne Uhl, Lou Tarikian, folks like that is an honor that, I'll remember forever. And to be able to assist or promote people after me, like Dan Darcy, for example, Mike Bruno, to help them get the recognition they truly deserve is one of my proudest moments. I love to see young people succeed. To me, that's what it's all about. And I mentioned them before: Michael Andrade, Jesse Hawthorne. There's it goes on and on. We have a new fellow at ODL now that I helped recruit, Daniel Custodio. Watch out, that young man's going to do some good things for our industry. So those kind of things I really enjoy the most. And then also the friendships that are involved, developed over the years, acquaintances, things like that. So yeah, I couldn't be prouder to be, and I tell everybody I am a CP Lowen Award winner, and I don't really thump my chest all that much, but that's one I'm holding close.
Well deserved, for sure. So a few years back, Fenestration Canada started a scholarship program, and I know that you were really instrumental in that and supportive of it and drove that initiative. What does it mean for you when our association does that kind of activity? Like, what does it mean?
Well, it means we're giving back. We're doing it selfishly because we're trying to promote our industry. Position our industry as a place where people should be looking to continue their professional development and their jobs, or to go to work in our industry. So that means so much. Again, with the way the organization is run now, we're able to do that because we have that funding available to us, and we have the resources to figure things out. The sponsorship is not really happening the way I envisioned it, but so be it. It's working. I think we're starting to make some impact in that regard. So anytime we can give back to community or to others that need it and promote our industry, I'm all for it.
Right. So I think about, as I head towards retirement at some point, what that looks like when you step across that line. So after 53 years, you get up in the morning and it's, fenestration is your world. And then all of a sudden you close that door. What's that going to look like for Skip MacLean?
No more emails.
Yeah.
No more meetings. No, it's worrisome. It really is. When you've been doing the same thing for as long as I have, you wake up, you have a routine. I still get up at bloody 5 a.m. in the morning. So, and then, you're drawn to a computer that really right now isn't there. So you really have to find yourself a reason to get up in the morning. I've been doing a lot of cycling, as I've been telling everybody. So that's been keeping my brain a little bit sane. Winter is looking a little bit scary. But yeah, I'll do some volunteering and, things like that. A little bit involved with the local hockey team, animal rescue, do a little traveling, do some of the, jobs in the house that I haven't. And basically, we'll see what happens when I emerge in the spring. So I'm going to be like the groundhog, I guess. So we'll call it Wasaga Willie or whatever. But we'll see what happens when I pop out in the spring. But I really don't have a set plan. I don't have an agenda. I just try and find something to keep me busy as much as I can during the day.
Yeah.
But
So-
I am the king of doing nothing too.
Yeah. Good for
I can
you.
do that pretty
It's
well.
healthy to do nothing once in a while. So as that door closes, does it lock?
No.
You'll be back. We'll see you maybe here or there.
Oh yeah, that's very, very possible. But yeah, you never. I don't think you ever should lock a door.
Yeah.
Right. Just close it, move on to a different room, or just find what's going on. And like I say, if I emerge in the spring and I am saying, holy moly, right, what am I doing with myself? Then good Lord, who knows what I'll be doing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not having a plan is my plan right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Good for you. That's great. So a few young faces, certainly on the floor, and a few here, a few old ones too, guys. So, advice, somebody that's come in and then maybe they've been in this industry for 3 or 4 or 5 years, there's a career in this industry. You and I can attest to that. Some advice for somebody that's new.
If you're young, don't be afraid to get engaged. Don't think that your voice is meaningless or your opinions are not listened to. And for the older folks, listen to them. Right? Listen to these young people, because the world is changing. Our world in fenestration is evolving all the time. But as a young person, you also have to listen. The folks that came before you have a lot to share if you'll just listen. And that's one of the first things I learned in sales is keep your mouth closed until the other person stops talking. Listen. Don't think of what you're going to say next. Listen to what he's saying, digest it, and have a response available. So, that to me is the most important. I think when I initially started coming through the association, I was extremely reticent to give my opinion. I looked at other people for, how that should happen and, what should be doing things. And somebody, I can't remember who it was on the board, had a great method of turning it around on me. I'd say to him, what do you think we should do that? And he'd say, well, I don't know. What do you think we should do? Well, what do you think we should do? And that sort of taught me to sort of, I shouldn't rely on everybody else to make a decision or figure out how things are going to happen. And I should have some input. And, now maybe I speak too much, but it is what it is. So, at 71, I think I got rights.
I've had a few conversations over the last year or two with people that are sort of, your age, that are looking at retirement and thinking about giving that information and sharing that information to the people that are coming up. And sadly, I'm hearing that is not being drawn out of them, for whatever the reasons are. My personal experience, when I left the company that I was with, I gave them, plenty of time, and there was very little of that. Hey, drive some of what you remember and what you know about our industry and our business down to these new young guys. And I'm hearing more and more of that the information download from us old guys is maybe not happening as much as it should. So hopefully we can remedy that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like, the thing is, I don't think a lot of people are asking, and that's a shame. And we should all be looking to mentor everyone that we possibly can. We've gone through the experiences, and one of my favorite people in the world is Mike Bruno's dad, Frank. And he used to have so much trouble with Mike because they just didn't agree. They were, in Italian, they call it testadura, which are hard heads, right? And I used to say to Frankie all the time, listen, Frankie, just listen, right? You don't have to react, just listen. And I used to say the same thing to Mike. I said, Mike, it doesn't have to be your idea. Just put it out there, walk away and come back. In a day or so, your dad will be willing to talk about it, right? Or it'll be his idea. But right. The thing is I say it again, I don't think we listen enough, and we don't ask the people afraid of ahead of us. I don't know whether it's out of fear or out of, sort of fear of looking dumb or not knowing the answer. We don't have to know the answer, right? But, really the only question that's a dumb question is really the one that's not asked. If you don't know something, ask, right? what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
So, you're going to learn a lot.
And don't be afraid to say, I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, there's been many occasions for myself. I don't know, but you know what? I'll find out for you.
Right.
Right. And that's a good thing.
The other part of that, Terry, is, and you're great at it, is you follow up.
Yeah.
So don't say you don't know and I'll get back to you and don't get back to that person.
Yeah, for sure. That's frustrating.
Yeah.
So this could be the last opportunity you'll have to ask Skip a question. So does anybody have any questions for Skip? Come on, it's your last chance, maybe. All right. I won't put anybody on the spot. So Skip, it's been my pleasure, truly been my pleasure, and so many others. When you posted on LinkedIn that you were going to hang it up, there was 115 comments and over 170 impressions on that post. That speaks volumes to the people that you've touched. And I'm sure that there's hundreds and hundreds more behind those that commented. So, to have worked with you over the, for me, at least a couple of decades that you and I have been connected, and probably more, your presence and leadership is going to be missed. There's no question about that. And truly, I wish you the absolute very best in your retirement. And I hope that we do see you occasionally, but not often. Take time, enjoy retirement.
I'll pop up every once in a while.
And we truly appreciate everything you've done for our industry. All right, Skip MacLean, folks.
Thanks, Terry. It's been my pleasure as well. And hey, have a great show, folks. Been a great event last night. Everybody happy with the way everything went? Food was awesome. Lane, great job. Yvonne, again, great job organizing everything. So hats off to FenCan for sure.
Great. Thanks,
Okay.
Skip.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Thanks, man.